Pandemonium Reigns.
Well, that could have gone better.
That could have gone much better, my friend. Sure could have.
And that's how we're going to start this show. I'm Dan, he's Mike, this is Pandemonium Reigns, and that could have gone better.
We're no longer undefeated as a podcast, fam.
I wasn't going to actually say it publicly, but you did it.
If we start 8-0 every time, we'll do this for the rest of our lives.
Oh, I'll take it. I will take it. I will take it. I'm going to need some of those sponsors to go ahead and come through.
Come on, boys.
Which, just one more shout out to your buddy JW Crates on that sweet new logo. A lot of compliments. I actually had some people stop me in the gym today for that at the time of this recording, it being Monday night. So props to him. Thank you very much. That is a sweet looking logo.
And I know it's good because I've got friends that are not college football fans. They don't prescribe to the beautiful sport of CFB. They don't love the Vols like you and I do. And they just keep saying, man, that logo that J-Dub made is beautiful. And I could not agree more, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be a great distinguisher for us. When people see that logo, they know that an orange cast is on the horizon. And when they see the old logo that somebody we won't mention made, that's not as good.
Not quite to the same level, not quite.
That you can expect the normal podcast, the conversation being everything but Tennessee football, but this being an orange cast. We're going to talk Tennessee, and we're going to talk Tennessee, Georgia, and we're going to be sad about it because we're fans and we can.
Yeah, we're not with the University of Tennessee. We're not with the TV stations and the radio stations. We're fans, just like probably everyone listening. And tough loss Saturday. Could have been a lot worse, I actually think. Man, I've been all over the place emotionally thinking about this game. And we'll, of course, break it down momentarily, but could have been a lot worse. Would have loved to see Tennessee try some different things and do some different things, but we're about to jump on into it for show.
Yeah, I actually want to start this episode talking about Hooker and looking at him through this Heisman conversation that has continued to surround his name throughout the first half and middle part of the season of this sport. And just want to know your thoughts on how that game affected his Heisman Trophy run. And is he being seen now in a different light?
It depends on this. This is where we'll learn a lot about if he probably, I think to me, if he really had a chance based on what he's done so far, which he definitely absolutely should have. I think if you look back at previous Heisman winning quarterbacks, that they've probably won the Heisman in a year and had games along the lines of 23 for 33, 195 yards, no touchdowns, one pick, 17 rush yards on 18 attempts. They've probably had games that look like that. So I don't think he's by any means out of it, but he certainly has to ball out the rest of the way until the voting is concluded. What is my concern is Saturday was a incredibly just phenomenally busy day. I didn't even get to watch all of our beloved Vols, even though it was a losing effort. Didn't get to watch all of it just with some stuff going on. So, what does a guy like, I know what CJ Stroud did. His stock should have fallen for sure. Bryce Young's is probably on the rise. We're not affected because he was still pretty dang good, miraculous, doing his thing.
Have we seen a Heisman winner with 2 losses though?
Probably not since Lamar Jackson, maybe.
Fair. Okay. Good point.
But him being a Heisman winner the year before, I don't know how that's going to affect it. I think they're going to overcorrect, and I think they've wanted to overcorrect, and the award go to Stroud. Stroud did not have a Heisman day. Blake Corum, just looking at it, 20 rushes, 109 yards, 2 more touchdowns, because that's what he freaking does, is get 2 touchdowns when he plays in a football game. So his campaign marches on. I know that Michigan had a very weird, iffy first half of that football game against Rutgers, and that you would probably want him to run for more than 109 against Rutgers. But, again, we're talking about Hooker not having his usual performance for 2022, even against a talented team like Georgia. So I think if anything, maybe Corum is sitting in that, maybe in that first spot. I don't know.
Sure.
But in my book, and also I'll say this: I don't know what Max Dugan did Saturday. I don't know that either, or if he has a realistic shot. Just knowing these voters, knowing how they do, don't know where his shot stands, but it's probably maybe like Corum, Hooker, Stroud, if you're looking at like the big three, if you want to put it that way.
Sure. You said what I was going to say regarding Stroud. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a new front runner, not named one of those guys.
Yeah.
And that dude is Drake May. And I think that had he not been doing what he's been doing, and Stroud having a bad day and Hooker having, I mean, do you call that a bad day? Or are we seeing this through a Tennessee lens? I don't know. It wasn't good. It's not what he's been doing, obviously.
Right.
I think the resurrection, maybe that's not the rising, excuse me, of Drake May could cause some problems for Hooker.
Potentially.
If he was not in the picture, I would say it would probably remains the same. In some places, I think Vegas still has Hooker as a front runner. I forget who I saw had May leading that pack, but that could be a difference maker. I think we are starting to get a understanding of who is going to be in New York for that Heisman ceremony trophy, and it's going to be Corum, it's going to be Hooker, it's going to be Stroud, and at this rate, it's going to be Drake May.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm with that.
At the end of the day, he was 23 for 33, like you said, just shy of 200 yards. Yeah, and no touchdowns and a pick, which is bad. But the QBR sitting at 60.7. I can't think of a bad game in 2021 for Bryce Young.
I'm wondering maybe statistically what he did in that Auburn game or that LSU game. Those were both close games for Alabama, where they just did not do what you thought they were going to do. Even with the rivalry factors of both games, even with the voodoo of Jordan-Hare Stadium, I just wonder what he did statistically in those games. And I think the Heisman was either him or Will Anderson. Don't think Will Anderson's even top 15 or 20 this year. But Bryce Young is still definitely doing his thing. He was frankly a magician late in that game Saturday, but just again, him winning it last year, I don't know, man. I don't think it'll happen for him unless just something insane happens.
He was outstanding last year. I mean,
he sure was.
As I said on a previous episode, that this is not the most valuable player. This is the most outstanding player. And as far as you said, Lamar Jackson pointing him out, I mean, his stuff that year was outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
This year, we don't have anybody jumping off the highlight reels. It's been a matter of who's been outstanding in production and consistency and stuff like that. So it's a bit of an oddball year for that Heisman Trophy race. Still like Hendon's chance. Mm-hmm. I think what will determine what will be a big determining factor for Hendon going forward is how do they bounce back after this Georgia loss? How does Hendon carry himself? There's a video that I found floating around on social media. I don't know when this was, at what point this was during the game.
It's late, if it's what I'm thinking.
Where Hendon has the offense rallied around him, and don't know what's being said, but he's being a leader. And you know what? That may not get you a Heisman Trophy. That's not going to be a Heisman moment. But as a Tennessee fan, that's what I want to see. You know what? And
that's why I feel the way I do about him.
Exactly. And as we actually, I need to go ahead and say this. I don't know if my family, shame on them, listens regularly, but I have made it not clear, but I've kind of thrown in, little hints that what I want for Christmas is a Hendon Hooker home jersey. That's what I want. So
yeah.
If my in-laws are listening, that's what I want. But anyway, so that's what you want to see out of this guy. And as we begin to transition into the conversation of this game more specifically, here's my thought. Just in general, you piggyback off of this however you want to. Did we get beat? Yes. Did we get dominated? No. We did not get dominated. We did not get beat down. We got handled.
Yeah.
We got outmanned. We got handled.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this was 27-13. This was a 2-score game. There was a legitimate chance to make this a game with about, I want to say 5 minutes left.
Yeah, right there underneath that. Yeah.
And we take a sack on 4th down. There was just nothing open. That was another coverage sack for Georgia. But if you can find a way to get downfield and get a score, you're looking at an onside kick and again, some kind of prayer to get downfield again.
Mm-hmm.
But yards were so hard to come by.
Absolutely.
Okay? But to the Georgia fans that have given me absolute hell, barking in my face and saying, we beat you down. No, you didn't, actually. You did that to Oregon, but it was a 2-score game. It was 14 points.
Yep.
Yes, you covered the spread, but the spread was 8.5. Props to you. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this to the national public. Michael Walker and Dan Tucker were not part of the people saying that Samford is not loud. We were not the ones saying, and I went back and listened to your preview. You were not the one saying that Sanford Stadium is not going to affect us. That's just stupid.
So stupid.
Because it did. It was really loud. Matter of fact, I texted a former student who was there, Georgia fan, and I said, "Hey man, glad you got to experience that. I'm sure that atmosphere was awesome." So props to Georgia fans for coming out, showing up, being loud. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it'd be totally ignorant. Tennessee, Neyland Stadium's the only stadium that gets loud. And I mean, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, every fan base has ruckus fans. Most stadiums in the South, aside from Vanderbilt, get loud.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and again, Missouri is north of the Mason-Dixon, so I'm not including that. But anyway, so props to those guys. I mean, yeah, you didn't dominate us. You didn't beat us down, but you handled us. And I mean, yards were so dang hard to come by.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
No, absolutely. I agree with all of what you're saying. Wasn't a domination. It comes down to this, and it's Tennessee didn't handle. I'll say this: Georgia blitzed on something like 60+% of Tennessee dropbacks, which is just far above Georgia's average, far above the average of what Tennessee's faced on dropbacks this year. And I will say this: some of the clips of Hendon getting sacked, or him going down, or him getting hit on a throw, what have you, it's just a really, really bad job of picking up whether it's a blitz out of the nickel or the star area for Georgia. Just a incredibly bad job. And I'll even go as far as to say, I'm looking at dudes that should be in position off of the edge to pick up the guy that's coming, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's also aspects of Hendon Hooker holding on to the ball too long at times, taking unnecessary hits at times. Don't know where that's coming from, because he is, again, second oldest quarterback in college football behind Stetson Bennett. He's been so good. I just don't know where that part of it came from.
I feel like I can hit on that for a second. I mean, give me 15 seconds right here. This is game number 9, and time has been there for 8 weeks.
Great point. Great point.
It's been there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done it for 8 weeks now, where he's had the time. He hasn't had to worry what's coming from behind. I mean, and not to mention that there could be some argument there with Jabari Small getting hurt, and he's being one of the better backs and pass pro. However, I thought Jabari Wright did. Jalen Wright, excuse me. Jalen Wright did well in some situations. And there was a situation where Dylan Sampson was in. He picks up a blitzer, but it's only for a short period of time because the dude comes right back at him.
Yeah.
I don't know that Dylan Sampson was ready for that. But anyway, my comeback to that is time's been there for 8 weeks.
You're absolutely right. Time has been there. The offensive line, we won't absolutely gush on them again, but they've been so good all season. But it comes down to this: Tennessee had 3 more first downs. They were god awful on third down, 2 of 14, but 3 of 5 on fourth down. Georgia was only 7 of 12, so a little bit better than 50% on third down. Georgia had 98 more total yards and possessed the ball for 2 minutes more than Tennessee. That comes out, that's a breakdown of 66 more rush yards and 62 more pass yards. And again, 2 minutes of time possession, which is just bonkers for Tennessee. That's just absolutely wild for Tennessee, because it's not what they do. Georgia even had more penalty yards, which is also crazy when you think about the pre-snap crap and all that. I mean, heck, Tennessee's penalties were largely false starts, illegal motions, things like that, killing themselves. Eric Ainge didn't do any favors on that. I've even heard fans that were in attendance say that's the loudest they've seen Sanford. So the stadium responded to the moment that the game was, the crap that people decided to talk in this moment about the stadium, which was just so dumb. Georgia responded really well. They are still absolutely filled to the brims with talent at every position. I think Caleb Ringo made money. I think Jalen Carter made money, these are statements because these guys are already going to be high draft picks, but they were dominant. Some coach, I don't know if you saw this. Tell me if you did. Some coach, I think The Athletic put it out, trying to get feelers for this game, what they were, seeing coming, things like that. And some coach, I don't know who it was because they didn't name him, said that the Georgia back end, their secondary, is not amazing, or they're not all inspiring or something like that. Have you watched this team play? They're just a lighter version, I think, and I think they'll build back towards a version of last year's defense with these guys that are there, with the guys that aren't playing yet because of, being buried by top three round picks in the NFL. I don't know where these statements came from. And again, I'll say this: I didn't love some aspects of Tennessee's game plan. You had 42 rush attempts, and 18 of those were, again, Hendon Hooker getting sacked, having very short runs. I mean, both he and Jalen Wright had a long run of 11. And the last thing that I'll add is that while Cedric Tillman's played amazing football for Tennessee, Brew McCoy's been huge in clutch moments for Tennessee, and Jalen Hyatt has been a world beater. If you go back and watch videos of that game, if Hyatt makes a break, if he breaks in a route, there are like 4 guys crashing to him. There's like 3 or 4 guys crashing to him. They did a fantastic job of just surrounding him. And then Tillman and McCoy, though they've made great plays, they're not burners. They're not going to go take the top off of every defense. Tillman can do that because of his route running. Not convinced McCoy can, but Tillman has done it. But he is still, he's still working back from this injury that he's not played much after. I'm sure he's close to 100%, but where's he at? And we'll never know. So I would love, and listen, we'll talk about this too, but I would love to see a rematch of this game. I think it's very possible that it could happen. But yeah, I mean, just, that's who these teams are. And it's a 14-point loss at their place. Yeah. And you've seen how another top 10 team was absolutely just slaughtered by this team in week 1.
Absolutely. So I thought from the get-go that it is obvious that Georgia had a game plan specifically for us, as you said, with this Jalen Hyatt situation. It felt like our game plan was do what we've been doing. It works, like trust the system. Yeah. Well, it didn't work. So no. I was really hoping coming out of halftime we would begin to move the pocket. We would see some quicker stuff. Yeah. However, when there was time, everything was covered. It was, I'm going to make a reference that nobody else is going to know, just you and me, possibly some old friends that you and I have in Michigan that we haven't talked to in a couple of years. But it was like playing Phil in NCAA 14, where everything was covered. There were no options. There were no options. The play that Keely Ringo for the interception makes, my gosh, his coverage from snap to pick had to have the NFL scouts absolutely drooling, because here you have a stud receiver at 6'4", with that body, with that frame, with that speed, covered. Yeah. Covered. And I don't know what's in Hooker's mind going, well, hey man, trusted this guy all year. It's got to be there. I like Tillman's physicality. I like Tillman's jumping ability. I like his ability to play the ball. Keely Ringo was like, hey, watch this. Yeah. Which goes back to, I want to use this to piggyback off the game plan for Georgia. Their game plan was in a lot of ways so simple. Now, obviously, you pointed out there were some cases for Hyatt. They were not going to let Hyatt beat us. It was not going to happen. But the game plan I thought for them was simple. Man up. You can switch all that crap you want to pre-snap. We're not switching. We're not changing. We're not going to get caught up in that mess. We believe our guys are better than yours. And with that said, I've heard several people, Tennessee fans, non-Tennessee fans, say if that game is in Knoxville and if that game doesn't rain, it's different. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, I don't care if that game yesterday or on Saturday, if it's neutral turf. I don't care if it's in Neyland. The way that Georgia played on Saturday, it does not matter. the rain didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I am really tired of that excuse. We didn't beat ourselves. We hurt ourselves with pre-snap penalties, but Georgia has said, "Hey, you've beaten everybody this way this year. You're not going to do it to us. We think our dudes are better than yours. Man up. Let's see if you can beat that." And we couldn't.
Yeah. And when the deep shot to Hyatt was overthrown early, which actually I think there's a case to be made that Hooker overthrew the ball that Ringo picked off, because if you throw that with no separation, you probably wanted a little bit underthrown where both guys, your best chance is that they jump for it, at least, not a run under it situation. But when Hyatt had that deep opportunity early, I think he actually stepped on the ref's foot or something at the end of the play, which probably didn't help his case against that smothering defense. But when that happened and he had, significant separation on that play, I was encouraged. I was like, okay, so he can beat anybody is my take right now. He can truly run past anyone. And man, he just didn't get any additional deep opportunities for the part of the game I was able to watch. And I think if this game is played again, wherever it's played, there will still be the same advantages that Georgia has that will not change until recruiting changes in Tennessee, until the type of player changes in Tennessee. But you have to make more significant attempts to run the ball up the middle, I think, to attack the middle of the field with the pass game as well, I think, because a lot of those blitzes, they're just belling and they're kind of backing their way out as they do it. They know the routes are going to go towards the sideline because we line up so wide. So make them pay for that, or at least make them cover 52 yards wide when you do that. But those are the only things that I think that you can change. Maybe you involve Hendon Hooker's legs a little bit more intentionally. Sure. I don't know. You certainly don't want to get him hurt here in week 9. I do get that, always will. But just like you said a moment ago, like I think I said, nothing was there. There was absolutely nothing to be had. Every yard was a dogfight, and Georgia got 98 more of those as the game played out.
Mm-hmm. That front seven for Georgia was so aggressive and physical. There's this natural rule of thumb when defenses are coming hard at you like they were on Saturday. You got two options: draws and screens, which we did neither one of, if I remember right. I don't remember.
We did try that halfback draw, but after the first attempt, it was so ineffective. And then you probably want Jabari Small on that. I think he's still your best all-around back, I think, even though Jalen Wright is very good and is going to be a very good Vol in the end. I think you still want Jabari Small for that. And just after like the first maybe 2, but probably the first one, they took it away.
Sure.
They just crashed. They crashed everything in.
Well, for the first time since 2017, I was dying for a slip screen.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a decade's worth of slip screens in 2017. And I was just thinking, man, where's it at? Like, can we get one of them? Just try one.
Yeah. So with all that said, I'm a little disappointed in the adjustments in the game plan and the coaching overall.
Yeah.
Not disappointed in the staff as a whole, just in this particular game. Obviously, I would have liked to have seen some different things. It just seemed like we came out in the third quarter and said, let's do what we've always done.
Yep.
I mean, feels a little prideful.
Maybe
that's why you lost the way that you did, but here we are. So let's talk about for the first quarter there, where Georgia puts off this punt that I had in all my years of watching football. I have never, ever. This dude punted this thing from Texas, and it ended up on our 1. You and I referred to the punt in 2015 that went in our favor as the punt that had eyes. Man, this punt had eyes. And it was determined.
Eyes.
It was determined to get where it wanted to go too, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we end up in a situation there where Hendon is hit while is obviously in throwing motion. I want to know your opinion. Did you think that was an incomplete pass, or did you agree that was a fumble? What were your thoughts on that?
So my take on that play is that his arm is coming forward, but to me, it's not one of those situations where it's clearly going forward and then from his hand is thrown. To me, they pop the ball out. I think it is a fumble. I think it's a safety. I don't know how I'll tell you this: the only reason it's not a safety is because they didn't call it originally, and because officiating screws are terrible. They are so scared and stubborn to override their own calls. I think it's a fumble and a safety because I don't think the ball made the line to gain. But I think that to me, it's a fumble and a safety before it's an incompletion, just because it just kind of, you can almost watch it just dislodge from his hand in that moment. Okay. Unlike, some of those other situations where I can't even think of a specific one, but you see it go forward from the quarterback's hand, him throw it, they pop it out of Hendon's hand to my naked eye and watching that. And I'm sitting there at a party surrounded by mostly Georgia fans with a few Tennessee fans around. And I'm saying, safety, what are we doing? What are we doing? Listening to Gary Danielson say the same 3 words 47 times in a row, but I'm sitting there saying that's a safety, and I would want the exact same thing if the teams were reversed.
Sure. So I actually thought it was an incomplete pass. However, I will say this: I'm totally okay with it being ruled a fumble. I think it's that close. I'm fine with it. However, if it is a fumble, I'm going to go ahead and repeat what you said here. That's absolutely a safety.
Absolutely.
That ball does not get all the way out of the end zone, and it's evident. It is evident. And so here, I just want the world to hear this. 2 Tennessee fans who did not want a safety are saying that was a safety.
Safety, yeah.
There's just no way around it. What I don't get even more, what baffles me even more, is we get into punt formation, right?
Yeah.
And it feels that oh shoot, his name escapes me, our punter.
Paxton Brooks.
Yes, Paxton Brooks. It feels like he is under center.
Yeah,
that's how close it is.
Yep.
And what baffles me is Georgia doesn't come after it.
I know, and it was like you could tell that the punter was backed up because it doesn't go very far. He is absolutely just boxed in. I mean, he's got fans on his back. He's got pressure in his face a little bit because I agree they didn't rush it the way that I sure would have. They could have got their safety right there.
Right, yeah.
So it's a bad punt. It only travels to like the 35, 40-yard line ish, which is just not good. But it was honestly an amazing effort to get it out that far. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm not sure if you were heading there, but I mean, just they do the absolute football move right there and they take the shot. Mm-hmm. And, even early in that game, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, good. This staff stuck with Slaughter. And then you saw Haddon, you saw Turnage, you saw several guys. I'm like, yeah, they stuck with Slaughter after that good performance last week, and he got cooked by Ladd McConkey.
So I don't remember if that was a hitch and go that McConkey runs, or if it was a zig, which is an up and in and then back up. Either way, Danico Slaughter committed cardinal sin number 1 in playing defense, and he was flat-footed. I mean, they zoomed in on him going, like, his whole foot is on the ground. You got to be on your toes. That's probably the safety in him, which safety shouldn't really be caught doing that either. But I was telling this to a lot of Georgia fans on Sunday. Listen, we've got safeties playing corner. I mean, we have issues. We have body issues in the secondary. And, Christian Charles, QB1, QB2, whatever he is, hamstring issue. I don't really know at this point what's going on with Kamal Haddon. Brandon Turnage obviously needs more time and development.
Yeah.
Every other corner we have, I should just go ahead and say, needs more time and development.
Yes.
I would love to see us hit the transfer portal at this position.
Big time.
Going into the offseason.
Pull an LSU, because that secondary, those corners and safeties at LSU are all transfers. Go do that. Bolster your room. You're going to have some guys that are already there and that are younger or that are older and coming back. They're going to continue to develop and get better. I think after last week's game, Slaughter even said something along the lines of, I don't want to play corner. Like, this is not where I want to be, but I'll do, whatever the staff and the team needs me to do. So let him be one of those replacements there for McCullough or Flowers. I think McCullough even has a COVID year if he wants it. So let Slaughter get back there at safety. Yeah, me too. Our eyes rolled just ever so slightly. Just a little bit. Let Slaughter get back into the back end of that defense, man, and then hit the portal hard and bolster that position, because it's going to be one of your weakest spots again next year if you don't.
Sure. Slaughter's a downhill safety.
Yes, he's a very physical football player. I like his game. Yeah. Probably a big part of last week is the athleticism, and even the college quarterback play of Will Levis and Stetson Bennett. Stetson is worlds better at this level than Will Levis. So they took advantage of it.
Speaking of Will Levis, the Kentucky hate that we got after this loss, I mean, just cracks
You
me
guys,
up.
y'all are
It's
so
just,
cute, man. Y'all are just the cutest.
what a bunch of, never mind. Can't say that word. So, Slaughter, he wants to come downhill. I don't think he wants to be caught backpedaling. He doesn't want to be caught turning his hips. Not yet. I think he can become a something, but
Sure,
that's neither here nor there at this point.
sure.
If I had said, Mike, we're going to hold Georgia to 37 carries, 130 yards, you would have said,
Oh man, I said on the little solo preview that I did, if you hold them to 125, 150, you got to be feeling good. I would have said the same thing about Stetson Bennett. If you told me he passed for 257, I'd have said that's good. You probably don't have receivers kill you. You probably do have the tight ends do what they do, and receivers get a little bit, and you're in a great position. And heck, y'all, listen, holding Georgia to 27 points, and there was times where they were conservative a little bit, trying to probably get the game over with. Holding Georgia to 27 points, I'm probably saying 8 out of 10 times that Tennessee wins that game. Mm-hmm. It's just they did both defenses kind of made statements to an extent. Georgia was like, listen, we're still here. We're still number one. We still got all this talent. And Tennessee, they never quit. They never gave up. The run game just never really broke them. So, yeah, I'm absolutely saying Tennessee's got a great chance to win if you tell me 37 for 130.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely.
No. Yeah, you mentioned Kirby, and so my mind went back to last week when the first CFP rankings were dropped, and I was just begging for us not to be put there at number one because Kirby is now that Saban disciple, and he's a great motivator, and he's going into this game saying, look, guys, they don't respect you. And they played like they were disrespected.
They sure did, man.
On both sides of the ball and special teams in all phases. I
can't say enough about their offensive line. As good as their defense was, you can't say enough about their offensive line.
Yeah, I mean that too. And Stetson Bennett played really well as well. As much as I hate to say it, I'm ready for this guy to graduate. He's
about time,
old,
man.
He's old. It's time for him to go. But I mean, what do you say? I mean, what positives?
I think again, I don't think anybody quit for Tennessee, and that's good because it was a demoralizing. Listen, I mean, 6 points until halfway through the fourth quarter or further is demoralizing for what you are. And I mean, again, like you said, they scored late in a position to go for an onside kick, and even had the ball after that, sacked on fourth down. Never quit, and just not even Tennessee, but so many teams against Georgia, they make you quit. They take your soul. And that didn't happen with Tennessee. I mean, seriously, I'm proud of, like the linebackers, I feel like had a decent game. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like nobody quit. It was just a who you got type situation. You got the Jimmies and the Joes, and the depth is not there yet, beyond and I don't even know if I would say the starting 22, but maybe even like the starting 15 or 17 dudes for Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I can say defensively. Again, I would have liked to have seen some different things schematically on the offensive side. Maybe some jump balls to a Brew or a Cedric, a moving of the pocket. Obviously, some quicker game stuff, which obviously that is a part of our offense already. But no screens. No side screens, no ball screens, no slips, no middle screens. I just don't remember any of it, which are things that you have to do against a very aggressive defense because they were determined to get into the backfield. So I'm not real sure what else there's left to say, man. I'm sad. It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
The college football playoff is still very much in grasp. I mean, at this rate, I would tell you that I would be surprised if we are not in it.
Yes, as long as you win these 3 games and then you get, just a TCU loss or an Oregon loss will all but absolutely cement you in with 3 more wins to finish out the regular season. And then if you get that Georgia rematch, because we've texted about this, but after seeing Saturday, there's just not a lot of teams out there, especially with Alabama taking the second loss, the possibility of a rematch with them being off the table. There's just no team that scares me the way that Georgia does, or maybe even to say it better, could do the things that Georgia did on Saturday. So I think if you play yourself into that position, that you just try some of these other things, the quicker game, the middle of the field. Hopefully you have Jabari Small, 100% or as close as he can be with that shoulder, because it was obviously his shoulder again. So I think you just try those things that you didn't try Saturday. I think you play a more aggressive game defensively, because I don't think we tried to bring enough pressure either, or it was just picked up so well that it didn't look like we did.
Yeah.
And then you just roll with your cards, because nobody's going to want to hear it, but you're so far ahead of schedule. You just have to take as much of advantage as you can of being where you're at.
Absolutely. So from here on out, rooting for whoever's playing TCU, rooting for whoever's playing Oregon, rooting for LSU in Atlanta, which is just crazy to say, which
Wild.
There's a argument there that if they win,
oof,
yes, you have 2 losses, but you won the SEC.
Yeah.
Do you get in? And there's a strong argument now. So especially if you beat this Georgia team, but who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Still like our chances. Still optimistic.
Third best odds right now, I believe. Don't quote me, but I believe I've heard third best odds as it stands today.
Yep. Michigan and Ohio State are going to play each other, so the Big Ten will be determined between one of those two. Still a strong chance that both of them get in.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Despite, but I do want some. I want Ohio State on the hot seat a little bit after that Northwestern performance, because that was very lackluster. But anyway, with this being an Orange Cast, we won't get into that too much. So still like our chances, man. Still, I mean, we're 8-1. I mean, going into the preseason or going into the season, would you said, will you take it? Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Where do I sign? Yes.
Yeah. Take a kidney. Whatever you need is down payment.
Yeah. I just hope going forward that I think you'll really figure out who we are in this Missouri game. If we turn this into a bloodbath, I like Josh Heupel, and I love being a Tennessee fan, because I'm like, all right, this means that we're really, really good.
I guarantee you, if he can do it, he will do it, because Drinkwitz loves to throw our name out when stuff comes up, talk about the sanctions and just being a general goober, talking about his shoes and his contract extension and letting Brady cook and all this crap. If he can do it, and I think the team will be plenty motivated, because you saw Hendon late in that game with his offense, like you talked about. Mm-hmm. If we can run it up, we'll do 62-24 again, or whatever we did last year in Columbia. I think we'll be an exact repeat if we can do it, and I sure as heck think we can.
Yep. Less than 90 seconds here. Any other comments you want to throw in there?
Nah, that's it. Stinks, but you want your first loss in November all the time over September and October.
Well said. You're a wise man. Did you read that in the fortune cookie?
I think I read it in a book somewhere. It might have been the Bible, actually.
Oh, the book of Second Volunteer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey guys, thanks for listening wherever you are. Make sure you are liking and subscribing. Do us a favor, like this video and then subscribe, and then tell somebody else to do the same. You guys are picking up steam for us, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it. So make sure that you tell somebody about Pandemonium Reigns. The best thing to be talking about this time of year is college football, and the best guys to be doing it are Mr. Michael Walker and Dan Tucker. Yes, I just referred to myself in the third person.
That's what we do.
It's what we do. Hey, we love you guys. God bless, and go Vols.
Pandemonium Reigns.